Hello, welcome. I was going to just show you today quickly a couple of different examples of some cracks that need to be filled. I had my family members over and we did fairy houses recently, and two of the girls left theirs here to dry, and they had some cracking issues. So this one has a crack that's a little bit bigger than this one. This one's pretty minor. So I'm going to show you two different things that you can do, okay? So whenever you're going to add wet clay onto dry clay, one of the major things that you have to remember is you always have to get the clay wet, okay? You can never just add your slip right into a crack. So always get it wet first, okay? So I'm gonna add some water to kind of soften that crack up, okay? I'm gonna do the same thing to this one. Where that crack is, I'm gonna just get that wet so that dry clay can soften up so it'll accept the slip and the patch better, because if it's not saturated with water, because it's so thirsty, it will grab too much of the moisture out of the slip, and you'll see what I'm talking about in just a minute, and then it may crack again. It'll just dry too much. There'll be just too much absorbing, okay, into the old clay. Okay, so these both are getting prepped, okay? They're softening up a little bit. So for this one, because the crack is pretty small, I'm just going to use my slip. Now slip is just I have a little jar of it here. It's just clay that I put into a little jar here and added water to, and it's like a paste. Sometimes my clay is pastier like this, and sometimes it's a little bit wetter, and over time it just kind of gets a little thicker, but this is actually perfect for what I want today. So you can kind of see the consistency, okay? So I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to push into that little crack. Okay. I'm gonna push it all the way in there. You could use your finger, you could use a tool, whatever is gonna work. You wanna be able to get that slip all the way down inside of there, okay? Sometimes if the crack is big enough, you may have to do this twice. But I guess one thing you just need to know is cracks do happen. I use mostly DOS clay, and the cracking is very minimal. This is a really vulnerable spot between the roofs were put on at one time, and then the walls of the house were put on it a second time. So this is kind of a tricky spot. And if it cracks, it's not the end of the world. You just fix it the way I'm showing you, okay? So that's it. You can then take another brush that's wet and smooth it out. Here, I need a bigger brush. Okay, just with some water. Right? Just get it the way you like it and let it dry. Easy as that, okay? This one, there's a little bit of a larger crack here. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some of my DOS clay, just gonna pinch a little bit off. And I'm gonna roll out a little worm. Okay. I'm gonna take that, I'm gonna wet it one more time. And I'm going to actually press that thicker clay into those bigger cracks. You see how I'm doing that? just pressing it into that crack. Because the cracks on this one were a little bit bigger than the other one. So when we get back to the minor cracking, I could use slip, but I'm gonna really just press some clay into there. Then I'm gonna take my brush and just make sure it's worked into that crack. Here I have a tiny little bit that I didn't get. I'm just gonna use slip for that. Okay. And that's it. And then after a couple hours, this would dry, and then you can sand it as needed. Or if it opens up a little bit again, you could do this a second time, okay? I rarely have to fill a second time. All right, they're both dry. As you can see, the cracks are taken care of. There's some little ridges here that I'm going to sand away. This is a sanding pad that's flexible. I use these a lot so I can get into these little curved areas. It's a little bit easier with a sanding pad. Okay, so sand it till you like it. And of course, you know that you can sand air dry clay once it's dry. So this is when you do all the finishing before you start to paint. Take a barely damp cloth, wipe it back, and you're ready to go. Cracks are not to be feared. They're going to happen sometimes, and you just use the process and very easily fix it. Not a worry. Thanks for watching.